I'd like to begin tonight with thanks. Thanks to Mark for this nomination and for putting me in the Gen X category. I found out that the cutoff is 1964, so phew, I just made it. And I would like to also thank all of you for the work that you do every day, and for the fact that you were willing to give up a Friday night and come here and share your energy, pun intended, with everybody else. And I'd also really like to thank Janine and her board of directors for the work that you were doing, and to recognize one of my board of directors members, Abe Haspel, who many of you may know. He's been in the energy game for a very, very long time. And I am here really, I'm privileged to serve this organization. I'm privileged to serve with amazing people. And you may not be able to see her because she's hiding behind the pillar there, but Karen Jensen Miles is here with me today. Karen, would you stand and be recognized? So Karen is my compadre in all things green. And Mark, thank you for doing such a great job of really recounting our mission. We've been in business for about 63 years. So we've had a chance to serve nearly 500,000 students from the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Thank you, because it really is. It's such a privilege. I know I sound like such a geek when I say that, but it's such a privilege to get to do what we do. And I invite you all to come down to our campus and to see the place where we get to do our work. It is absolutely spectacular. We're right across the river from Mount Vernon on the Maryland side. You look up the river. Come see me afterwards. I'll show you my favorite picture looking upriver. We can see the Washington Monument and the Capitol Dome from our property. So we're really not very far away. And Mount Vernon, right, exactly, just across the river. And so the core concepts that we have been able to teach over the last 6 decades are like ecological principles, basic things that we tend to forget. We're carbon-based beings on a carbon-based planet, and Mother Nature has a rhythm and a cycle, and it may not be the smartest thing to dig up all that sequestered carbon that healthy soil captured and put way, way, way deep down into the ground. But there is hope. There are solutions. And don't get me started about healthy soils, because I'm really here to talk about energy. But my point really in saying that is that it's all connected. And we're connected in ways that we haven't even begun to understand. You never know who you get to be in somebody's life, right? And that sounds so basic, but tuck that away and stew on it for a little bit, because it might be a passing moment where you get to be an inspiration. It might be a lifelong mentoring relationship. You don't always know in the moment when you begin these relationships. So I look forward to continuing a relationship with each of you. But what I really wanted to say tonight was that what we are trying to do with our living building is to build a bridge between the natural world and the built world. And that's what the Living Building Challenge is all about. And as Mark mentioned, we're only one of 15 fully certified buildings anywhere in the world. We've taken that next light year leap ahead of the LEED certification process by embracing net zero energy, net zero water, being carbon neutral, and composed of non-toxic, non-polluting component parts. And so it can be done. They don't call it a challenge for nothing, as it turns out. I was just in the building earlier today, and we had a school group that had spent the night. We have residential bunkhouses, overnight lodge facilities. And these Cooper's Lane students were in our building learning about vermiculture. Anybody know what is vermiculture? Worms, right. And they were learning about pollinators, and they were learning about different plants, and they were learning about this all in the context of the energy cycle. And they were then in the embrace of this beautiful building, beginning to understand, what does it mean to think about our waste, our energy, our water in the context of modern society. And I don't really want to stand on a soapbox, but I will say that we have become convenience addicts today. And our conveniences have a cost. And it's a cost that we don't always have to pay in the moment. And so when we're thinking about our waste and our energy and our water, We need to start stimulating the thought process. So the urgency of now, I have 2 members of the next generation that live in my household and remind me and inspire me every day. And sometimes you wonder, you're teaching the next generation, and that's so important, but my goodness, 5th graders today still have 7 more years of basic school to get through, and maybe another 4 to 8 years of school before they're in the decision-making world. So what is the urgency of now? How are we doing that? So what we have to do is take both the long-term view of an investment over time, over the next 10 to 12 years, but also, Mark alluded to this, we've had the International Society of Sustainability Professionals, which is how I first had the pleasure of meeting Janine. We've had the American Institute of Architects use our space as they commit to design carbon neutral buildings by 2030, all of their members. These are things that really make a difference. We've had the General Services Administration, HEPGB folks, the high performance green building folks out using our space as the model and design for what they want to see in the future. So what we're able to do in the urgency of now is to demonstrate that aspirations can be met, and that we can do it, and we can do it together. And there are buildings, not just in the middle of Akakeek, which you've never heard of, but you will know it now. There's a building that's 5 stories and 50,000 square feet in the middle of downtown Seattle that has embraced these same principles. It's the Bullitt Foundation building. It can be done anywhere and everywhere, and these principles are being scaled up at a community level now. So we're talking about communities that are living communities. And it's really sort of like Back to the Future. Everything old is new again. And if we look at closed loops, if we looked at what we had to do to be responsible for our own waste if the municipality didn't come and take it away for us, how would we act differently? If we had to actually generate our own electricity, as I know some of our other speakers have had that experience in doing, what would that look like? If we had to get our own water, how would we act differently? And so it's in that spirit that hopefully my phone is still, I wanted to share, there's tons of inspiring quotes, but I like this one from Ban Ki-moon, where he says, saving our planet, lifting people out of poverty, advancing economic growth, these are one in the same fight. We must connect the dots between climate change, water scarcity, energy shortage, global health, food security, and women's empowerment. Solutions to one problem are the solutions for all problems. And so my challenge tonight is to ask you to think about the interconnectedness, not only of yourselves in relationship to each other, but as you go home tonight and you think about the water that you are blessed to have, not entirely free of charge, but almost coming out of your tap. And the fact that you can flip that switch and electricity comes magically into your life. That when you put your trash out, this is one of the trashiest times of the year, the holidays. Think about, do we really need all that wrapping paper? Are there different ways? Every small change that we make can have a magnifying impact. And I don't want to butcher Margaret Mead's great quote, but I think we all know it. So here it is. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Thank you so much for this honor. I gratefully accept, on behalf of the amazing staff at the Alice Ferguson Foundation, and more importantly, the incredible students, adults as well as youngsters that we get to serve. So thank you so much.